So you know that kid on Stranger Things playing D&D in the basement?
Yes.
That's me.
Ooh.
Okay.
What a visual.
So this here is actually a dungeon I created probably in 1979.
Right?
What I had them do was travel through a dungeon, and in different rooms they would collect these pieces.
Ooh.
And when they put these pieces together, they actually formed this puzzle, which is a logic puzzle.
Oh.
And you had to read the logic puzzle, and when you solved the puzzle, then certain blocks would tumble and allow you to move forward. So,
Man, I wish I did things like this as a kid.
well, I just took a logic puzzle from some book and just put it in D&D kind of language.
Oh my goodness.
I always got to be the dungeon master, and the fun part for me about playing D&D was the stories. It was always a lot of fun, and when you can actually scare people, that was fun. And there were times when people got scared playing my dungeon, so it was pretty cool.
No, that's such a visual, and I kind of want to go over everything that we have here on our table. You have a massive
you're so kind.
collection of comic books. I want you to dive deep into this.
So this is Strange, which is published in 1979. One of my friends in French class was going to go to France with the class. I wasn't going. So I asked her to get me a French comic in a French novel. Not that I could read them, but I just wanted to have them. The idea of, just the idea of telling stories in a different language for me at 16 or 17 was really cool. And then this is kind of a prized collection. This is the Starship Enterprise, Jean-Luc Picard, in German. This was probably published in the late 90s when I got this one. Jean-Luc Picard was an important character for me. Post-Vietnam, you rarely saw respectable military personnel in media up until Jean-Luc Picard in 86, 87. And not only was he respectable, he was smart, intelligent, he could fight, and he was courageous, and which is everything the military tries to cultivate in its officer corps. And the thing is, it's not really an analytic thing. It's not like I read all of these things and try to decipher the code. It's more experiential. I know what comics and storytelling felt like for me when I was young, and continues to feel like for me. And I just love the idea of having something like that from another place. I can't explain it anymore.
So I kind of want to go over like what you do, and I know it's like I call it psych, in characters, and so I want you to kind of go over that.
Well, what I do as a cognitive psychologist is investigate these unconscious stories we tell ourselves all the time. So right now, when people are walking down the street, they're telling themselves an unconscious story about gravity. And right now, you all have two thoughts in your head. The ones you are creating, the ones I'm putting in there, and the ones you're having, like, wow, he's right? That is
out of my head.
Exactly.
Stop it.
Those unconscious stories are what let you be someone. Otherwise, if you can't tell your thoughts from the thoughts that are coming in, then you're diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Right. So I definitely want to be able to take all of the the shows and the games and the fun things that we're involved in pop culture and relate it to psychology. And so I kind of want to start off with something we talked about earlier with Jessica Jones.
Well, there's a page from Jessica Jones that I actually marked here. So there's this great scene where she's finally telling Luke Cage what the Purple Man did to her. And telling Luke Cage what it felt like to have someone else take over your mind. It says, in your head, it doesn't feel any different than when you think it yourself. You see, it feels, not only does it feel the same, it actually feels better because the thought, the command is pure. It's strong, it's there loud and clear. And the data clearly indicate that we often have to have thoughts about what we're going to do. Those thoughts can be primed by the world. They can be primed by our memory, but if we're not generating those thoughts of what's going to happen, we often don't feel in control of it. So what the Purple Man's able to do to her is basically take over the thoughts that are her command for herself, but she doesn't feel herself creating them. So she's doing all these things, and for me, that's he's probably my scariest villain. You know, Thanos can be coming at you, but it's still you.
No, I definitely agree, and I want to also kind of like end with the work that you do, like the actual kind of messages and writing that you've contributed to.
Right, you mean in stuff like this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So back 4 or 5 years ago, our colleague Eric Wesselman and I went to WizCon in Chicago, went to a table where a guy named Dr. Travis Langley was selling books, and he edits a series for Sperling, and he invited us to be contributors. So we started, he said, we're doing a book on Star Trek, you've got 2 weeks. So we wrote a chapter for Star Trek in about 2 weeks. And since then, I've probably written 10 chapters for about 8 different books. So
I appreciate it. Tell us what these 3 books here
So,
are about. Let's see.
so this one, you want me to hold it?
Oh, yeah. We'll show
This
people.
one, Westworld Psychology, Violent Delights, is about predominantly the television series by HBO, which is stunningly good and very difficult to watch more than once because it's so violent. Basically, the only people that can afford to go to Westworld are very rich sociopaths who go to Westworld and abuse all of these droids. They remove their memories every time. I don't know how much you want me to spoil on this.
I love Westworld. It's something that's like I wish I can go.
Yes,
and just live
so
there.
I'll just say spoiler alert.
There you go.
Right? They remove the memories of these droids after every visit to the park.
Right.
But what the creator starts doing is actually allowing them to connect their memories. And as they're allowed to connect their memories, they start to realize they're basically victims of a sociopathic space. And so Anthony Hopkins, who plays Ford, who runs Westworld, is actually putting these droids through a process of evolution to recognize that they would be deselected by human beings if they were to become a species. And so he trains them how to protect themselves against human beings. It's stunningly good. And we talked this. This is probably my favorite project because I got to integrate the work of Don McGregor, who wrote Black Panther in the 70s, a white guy assigned to write about Wakanda. His arc, which is called Panther's Rage, takes place entirely in Wakanda. There are no white people. It's just Wakandans. And the editors kept coming to Don and saying, you need to get some Avengers in there. You need to get white people. And he said, no. This is in Wakanda. So this is who these people are. Black Panther's the one that drew my attention. When you read what Dan McGregor did with it in the 70s and then what Christopher Priest did with it in the 90s, who kind of made him a hyper-intelligent shaft, right? Someone who's never going to be fooled by anybody, who's a king of a country and carries himself that way.
Yeah.
And then Ta-Nehisi Coates brings the first issue in Ta-Nehisi Coates' run on Black Panther is, wait a minute, why are we living by a monarchy? Right?
Yeah.
And so he problematizes monarchy in Wakanda. It's a bold move, it's incredible writing, and I was just delighted to be able to tie it all into the stuff I do.
That's so cool. I
Yeah, it's
appreciate
very cool.
that.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Yeah. So how do we get a hold of a copy of these?
Well, you can buy these on Amazon, or you can probably buy them in Almond.
Which the link will definitely be in the description.
Do you have the social media that people can follow, updates?
You can on Twitter. I'm at Jordan Jam Party, and you can look me up at Illinois State University in the Department of Psychology. I'll be there, and that's what I have.
Awesome.
All righty.
Stay up to date, everybody. We're so excited that we were able to host Nerds Talk in Epicento 606 in Wicker Park. Definitely like, share, and comment your thoughts, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification to learn more episodes that are coming up, and we appreciate it.
Let us know below what your favorite superhero is, or your
Yes.
favorite story, or comic book.
Or what we need to talk about in part 2.
Yeah, what should we talk about next?
Exactly. We'll see you later, guys. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.